What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Nick Diaz. I've been meaning to make this video for a while, just hadn't got around to it. But basically, I want to talk about why Nick Diaz is such a huge star, even given as you can see right here, given his record. Um, I've been watching Nick Diaz for a while since back in the days when he was fighting in Strike Force and so on. And man, it's amazing to see a guy who doesn't possess, huge knockout power, doesn't have, amazing athletic abilities, but still stands in the cage with the best in the world, and they're terrified to stand toe to toe with him. So basically, that's what I'm going to be covering. First of all, when I thought about it, I was looking at his record. I was like, man, there's not too many guys on the planet in the UFC that have three losses back to back. But right now, if you booked him for a pay per view and told me he was fighting, I'd be the first one to be like, yeah, I'll be there. Like I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna watch that. And the reason for that is simple. Even these losses he's lost, like when he fought Carlos Condit, you know, everybody's figured out the game plan to beat Nick Diaz now. Nick Diaz fighting style it has its flaws. He has amazing boxing abilities. I mean, he's able to put together combos that you see some professional boxers not even able to put together. But the main problem he has is he doesn't have very good footwork. He's not an athletic guy. He kind of stands flat-footed in a boxing stance, and he can't move very well. He can't get up on his toes or bounce, and guys have learned that. So when guys fight him, like when in the Carlos Condit fight, I'll cover that one first. Yeah, in the Carlos Condit fight, Carlos Condit basically stayed up on his toes and ran away from him, for lack of a better term. He fought him the smart way to fight him. He stayed up on his toes, didn't stand toe to toe with him, and kept Nick Diaz chasing him down. And the reason for that is if you stand toe to toe with Nick Diaz, he's got such amazing cardio that he doesn't slow down. Like a lot of guys, they get you up against the cage, they throw a couple punches and they back off because they don't want to get, they don't want to get tired. They don't want to exude all their energy, especially with you blocking the punches. So they kind of back off. Nick Diaz, man, you back up against the cage and lay on the cage against Nick Diaz. He's bringing punches to the body. When your hands come down, they coming back up to your head. When your hands come back up, back down to the body. And then after he's got you really hurting, he'll load a big bomb up and boom. So that's what's made him, so successful. But now that guys have learned kind of how to fight him, it's made things a lot more difficult. Carlos Condit fought him that way. Josh St. Pierre fought him the same way. The Anderson Silva fight was really interesting. What made the Anderson Silva fight so interesting is that you never seen anybody taunt Anderson Silva. I've never seen anybody taunt Anderson Silva. And Nick Diaz started the fight off taunting Anderson Silva. And there's a very specific reason, why that happened in the beginning. Anderson Silva, when they first fought, my prediction for the fight was that it would go to the fifth round, but Nick Diaz would probably get knocked down in the first or the second round. Like he would get caught. His face isn't extremely hard to find. So I figured Anderson Silva would catch him early on, knock him down, but then Nick Diaz wouldn't get finished, and he would take him to the fifth round, and probably would have some success in the later round, like the fourth or the fifth. But man, I was wrong. Anderson Silva came out, and immediately, like the first set of punches he threw, he got counted, and he realized, whoa, so this is what Nick Diaz is about, and he backed off. And then he started fighting, the smart fight, staying on the outside, using the footwork. And then, Nick Diaz did what he does, plots around, flat-footed, trying to chase him down. But he's just not built that way. He doesn't move that way. He can't, fight that way. So, that was pretty much it. But and he still had some success against Anderson Silva. It wasn't like he got blown out of the water. Of course, he lost the fight. But he didn't get blown out of the water by Anderson Silva. So, it definitely was a good fight for him, fighting Anderson Silva. But I hope he comes back because there's not many guys in the UFC that you could look at this record and go, okay, he's lost to Carlos Condit, he's lost to George St. Pierre, and he's lost to Anderson Silva. Let's book him for a pay-per-view and see how it does. Most guys wouldn't get booked as a main event for a pay-per-view. But I guarantee you, when Nick Diaz comes back, he'll be booked in a main event for a pay-per-view, and I'll be watching. I'll definitely want to see that fight happen. And considering that, the guy that's the champ right now is Robbie Lawler. And let's see. It should be. I'm pretty sure he fought Robbie Lawler in the UFC years ago, and he beat Robbie Lawler. And Robbie Lawler is the current champ. Now, of course, a bunch of things have changed since then. There it is. Yeah, Robbie Lawler and him fought back in UFC 47. So that would be an interesting fight to, definitely an interesting one to see now, just because of the history that the two have. He beat him, KO'd him in the second round at 1 minute and 31 seconds. So I definitely would love to see him fight again because, yeah, Robbie Lawler's changed a lot, but so has Nick Diaz. And Robbie, what makes that such an interesting fight is the fact that Robbie Lawler's got that pride about him that he's not going to run away from Nick Diaz. He's not going to say, I'm scared and run away. Robbie's going to come for Nick Diaz. He's not going to take that route that a lot of guys are taking and say, oh, I don't want to fight. I'm going to play it smart, stay on the outside, and hit Nick Diaz with pitter-pat punches and run away. He's not. That's not Robbie Lawler. That's not his fighting style. Every fight he's had has been a barn burner. So if he fights Nick Diaz, it's going to be a war. We'll finally have somebody, and that's why we tune in to see if somebody can really beat this man. That's why the main reason he's still a star is because even though he's lost fights, we haven't seen anybody beat Nick Diaz. Nobody has went in there and said, okay, I'm submitting this guy, or I'm knocking this guy, or I'm going to just beat him up. We haven't seen that. And that's what makes people still tune in. Because in most people's mind, he's the people's champ, one. And two, he's still, undefeated as far as, like, being beaten. Of course, he's losing fights, but nobody's really beat him. Like, put him in his place and said, I beat you. I dominated you. And I don't know that we will see anybody do it. Because it's just easier to fight him smart and stay on the outside and hit him with pitter-pat punches. And not get caught into that, exhausting pace and the flood of punches that come through. Like if you watch the BJ Penn fight, man, that was just unbelievable. The BJ Penn fight was just an utter destruction of BJ Penn. Nick Diaz is one of the few guys I could watch fight, and I'm getting tired watching him fight. When he was fighting BJ Penn, I was just like, good God, are the punches ever gonna stop coming? He just kept pouring them on and pouring them on and pouring them on. Let's mute that trap music. No, it was too bad. Never mind. But, you see BJ just like, man, this guy's not going to get tired. And he doesn't get tired. I mean, he just keeps bringing it and bringing it and bringing it. And, man, at the end, who have we ever seen break BJ Penn? It's just stuff like that, man. I love the way he just talks crap to guys while you fight. And, that's difficult to deal with. It's got to be difficult to deal with a guy who's, just throwing punch after punch after punch and talking to you while he's beating you up. He didn't talk to BJ Penn as much as he does a lot of other fighters. I don't think he really did a lot of talking at all in that fight because he liked BJ Penn and he considered BJ Penn a friend, so he didn't want to, do him. But some guys that he don't like, man, he talked to them the whole time. I remember watching this one fight when he fought Carlos Condit, he open hand and slapped him. He just opened his hand up and slapped him, and I was like, good grief, man. Nick Diaz just don't give a F. You know what I'd like to see him do in the future, though, for fights? I would like to see him do more taunting. Like really talk crap to these guys and taunt them. Because in order for him to be successful, he's got to goat guys into a fist fight. You got to get guys to say, look, I'm going to fight this guy total. I mean, golly, look at this right here. He's just destroying BJ Penn. And you see, like a lot of guys, you lay on the cage, they would back off. Nah, man, not Nick Diaz. It's just head, bring it to the body. Head, bring it to the body. Eventually he'll swing back and load up a big punch and then bam, right to the body. I mean, you look at that and you get, I'm like, man, I'm getting tired looking at that. He's just whooping the piss out of him. But, yeah, man, let me stop that. That hurt me watching it. But, yeah, that's what I'd like to see him do, man. I'd like to see him get more, I would say for Nick Diaz, he'd be a lot more successful if he took the Conor McGregor approach. Like, really talk crap to these guys and get them to goat them into a fight. Because he's not going to win a decision. Nick Diaz ain't going to win too many, unless you stand toe-to-toe with him. Now, if you put, cinder blocks on both guys' feet or stuck a rubber tire in the middle of the cage and said neither one of you can take 1 foot out of the tire, Nick Diaz would be the reigning champ over a couple divisions. But as long as guys move around and they use their footwork and they realize like that's a smart way to fight him, stay on the outside, hit him with a lot of little leg. He don't check leg kicks, and most guys that fight like him aren't going to check leg kicks because they can't. He's got a pure. When you look at Nick Diaz's stance, that is a boxing stance. He fights really wide legged. You know when he's standing in his fight stance. You know you can look at his feet right there. He fights like a boxer. Like he's lined up. You know, he stays long a lot of times when he's fighting. He doesn't square up as much as other guys, you know, compared to BJ Penn's got a pretty good boxing stance too, but you know, his is wider than BJ's. He fights in a boxing stance. And the reason that's so hard to check kicks is because you're not squared up. You know, most MMA fighters they fight a little bit more with a Muay Thai stance. Nick Diaz fights real long, which makes it hard to throw kicks and it makes it hard to check kicks. So he's always going to have a problem when it comes to checking low kicks and catching them. But yeah, I think that's he'd be more successful. And another thing, this right here, this whole no contest thing for Anderson Silva, that was BS. Yeah, I understand that the man tested positive for metabolites, but your opponent tested positive for steroids. He didn't test positive for marijuana. He tested positive for steroids. And not only did he test positive for steroids, he was at one point considered the pound for pound best fighter in the world. And two, he's a weight division heavier than you. And he's on steroids. So how does you and you giving yourself a disadvantage taking marijuana? Ain't like marijuana quickens your reflexes. You know, I know some people say, well, oh, marijuana gives you the advantage. It keeps your heart rate lower. It keeps you calmer, you know, going into a fight. Yeah, that very well might be true. But let's put it like this. If you put marijuana on the table and steroids on the table and you made both of them legal in fighting, but here's the kicker. You can only take one. Which one do you think 90% of fighters are going to take? They're going to pick up the steroids and say, thank you, have a nice day. So to say that marijuana is a performance-enhancing drug, you know, look, if you made steroids legal, 90% of fighters would be on them. Heck, they're not even legal, and 90% of fighters are on steroids. I think Yoel Romero, or I forget his name, but he just tested positive for steroids. Was it Yoel Romero? I think it was. Was it that? Yeah, it was him. Yoel Romero, whatever his name was. That's just whatever. Yeah, MMA mixed martial arts. Okay, another crap website. Trying to find one that I guess I should have went to MMA. MMA Junkie's pretty good. Yeah, Yoel Romero. He tested positive for steroids. So that kind of gives you an idea. You got guys testing positive for steroids, and they're not even legal. And you got guys testing positive for them. So to say that marijuana is a performance enhancing drug, guys, come on. There's no way. Like if you give guys a choice, I can tell you which one guys are gonna choose. He had a choice between marijuana and steroids. He chose steroids. Alistair Overeem had a choice between marijuana and steroids. He chose steroids. Anderson Silva had a choice between marijuana and steroids. He chose steroids. And all the other, not to mention all the other guys that were on TRT, Shell Sonnen, Rampage Jackson, Frank Mir, and all the other guys. So it's saying marijuana is a performance enhancing drug is utterly ridiculous. And that 5-year ban that the Nevada State Athletic Commission gave Nick Diaz was complete BS. And to break that down simply into how ridiculous that is, most fighters fight. Their lifespan in fighting is not very long. You know, some of these guys, now Nick Diaz is an exception. He started fighting really early on. You can see that he started fighting in 2001, and now it's 2016. But look when he was born. He started fighting really early in 2001. Shoot, how old was he? Let's see, 2001, I don't know, probably like 17, 18 or somewhere in there. I don't feel like doing the math in my head too early. But somewhere in there. It was early when he started fighting. So he's an exception. He started fighting exceptionally early, much like Robbie Lawler. They started fighting really early. But most fighters' lifespan is not that long. You know, if they fight for 10 years, that's a long time. So now let me break down Nevada State Athletic Commission's suspension of 5 years. And I understand it was his second or third offense. I think it was his third offense or something like that, even though they did two different tests and with water and some other drug, whatever. I don't care about all that. I'm just talking specifically about the 5 year ban. To give somebody a 5 year ban over marijuana, this is the equivalent of you go to work today. Most people work 30 years. Let's say the average person works 30 years. You start working at 20, you work until you're 50, 55. We'll narrow it down to 30 years for the average person. You work for 30 years and you can retire. Give somebody a 5 year suspension in fighting is the equivalent of giving you at home a 15-year suspension. You fail a drug test at work, you in the military. You fail a drug test, you suspended for 15 years. Nope, you can't join another branch. Nope, you can't go get a job outside of this. You under contract with us, you're going to stay under contract with us, and you're going to serve that 15-year suspension. That's over half your working career gone for marijuana, for being busted for marijuana. And it's not even like marijuana's outlawed with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. It's just you can't have a certain amount of metabolites in your system. It's not completely banned. You just can't have so much. You couldn't have smoked the day before you go in there. Now, with him, that's the equivalent you're talking about. The average fighter, let's say the average fighter fights 10 years, and that's pushing it. A lot of guys don't make it 10 years. A lot of guys don't make it 5. Some guys fight 2 or 3 years, and that's it. But let's say the average fighter for his fight career is 10 years. That's a long time staying in fighting. I don't think it's really that long for a lot of guys, but we're going to say average 10 years. Suspending somebody for 5 years, that's half his fighting career gone. Now, Nick Diaz happens to be the exception. He's been fighting since 2001. It's now 2016, but still, that still isn't that long when you take 5 years of your ability to earn money out of it. And it's not like you can just go fight somewhere else and make money. It's not like, if for the average person, if I go to work at Walmart and I get, they say random drug test and I go in there and I fail and I say, all right, whatever, see y'all. I can just go down the street and get another job. No big deal. It doesn't go on my criminal record. It doesn't do anything to me. I can just go down the street, apply for another job, and get another grab job. For him, you under contract with the UFC. You can't just stop working and go somewhere else and say, all right, well, I'm gonna go over to the WEC, which doesn't even exist anymore, or Pride. Most of these places don't even exist anymore. Well, let's say Bellator. I'm gonna go over to Bellator and fight for them. No, you can't because you're still on contract with the UFC, and the UFC is not gonna book you as long as you have a suspension with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, because they could still let you fight in Texas. They can still let you fight in Brazil. They can still let you fight in Ireland, and when they go out of the States or Brazil or whatever. They're not going to do that, though. They're going to let you serve your suspension with the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So, in my opinion, that's a little bit ridiculous. When you start suspending people for 5 years for marijuana, and the person they are fighting is busted for steroids, and he don't get but a year. I don't remember how long it was, but I think Anderson Silva got a year suspension or something like that. I think it was a year suspension. I can't remember. A 1 year suspension. That's coming from MMAfighting.com. He had a 1 year suspension for busted drug tests. Now, all right, let's break down the difference in advantages to wrap this up. You taking marijuana so you're a little bit calmer in the fight. That's all it did for you is it made you calmer. So your same abilities still exist. It's just you able to implement them better because you're calmer. Nothing's really changed except you ain't as nervous. Let's take steroids. Okay, you taking steroids. You fighting a guy who's in a smaller weight class than you, so you already got a size advantage. You're the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. One of the best. You've been called the best striker on the planet, period. Period. They didn't say in boxing and MMA, they said period. The end. And you taking steroids. What advantages do you have? Well, it makes you stronger, makes you faster. Well, depending on the steroid, depending on the compounds you taking. I don't know the exact steroid. I don't think people understand how broad of a statement steroids is. I didn't read the articles to see exactly what he got banned for and the performance enhancements of that particular steroid, because there's a bunch of them. It ain't just one. But on average, you probably taking a steroid to make you stronger, your cardio better, and make you better at everything else. And making you stronger means you're going to hit a lot harder. Means you can train harder. This is a lot of advantages to go on steroids. It's not just, he's going to show up and be strong. There's mental advantages. I know I'm taking something this guy doesn't have, so I'm going to be that much better than him. I'm stronger than him. I'm going to be stronger. I can train harder. I can recover faster. I don't think people add in all those extra, advantages. So we weigh those two. And the guy with steroids gets a 1 year suspension. The guy with marijuana gets a 5 year suspension. Eh, I, I I don't trust it. So, but that's it for me, guys. I ran this way, way, way too long, but I've been meaning to make this a long time. I had a lot of stuff to say about it. So, I hopefully Nick Diaz makes a return, and I think the latest news on him was that his I think he got reduced. Like he got reduced to like a year and a half, and I don't know if that means like the time he's already served is going to they're going to start it fresh and new a year and a half, or if the time he's already served is up, or what that means. So I'm not sure what that means. I'm hoping that it's time already served. Like the 5 year. I think it got dropped to a year and a half. If I'm not mistaken. I think this is one of the old ones that says 5 year suspension, but I'm pretty sure it got dropped to a year and a half or something like that. So I'm hoping that it means, as far as like the time he's went already is already served, so he'll be coming back soon. But I don't know. So I'll be looking forward to when he comes back, and I hope they book him for immediate title match against the welterweight. It'd be nice if he comes back and Robbie Lawler is still the champ, and they book him for a rematch. But we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully he comes back soon. But yep, that's all I got, guys. I already ran too long, so I'll see you guys later.